Michella Chester with Tara Henry, D1 Softball. We're going to preview the 2023 college softball season. We've got a lot to talk about it. Let's jump right into it, Tara. Let's start off with Oklahoma, your number one team, just came out in the preseason top 25. OU lost Jocelyn Allo, but they returned your number one player, Tiare Jennings. They've got a slew of transfers. Alex Storako, you've got Sydney Sanders. I mean, can we see a three-peat? It seems possible, Tara.
You lose a player like Jocelyn Allo and you're thinking, oh, it's going to be tough to be replaced. But then you see OU have 10 in our top 100 players, D100 players. And gosh, I can't say enough about the Sooners. And can they three-peat? I absolutely believe it. You're going to look at Jordy Ball, a healthy Jordy Ball coming back into season. Obviously, Alex Storako. And I also don't think we talk enough about Nicole May. She's kind of the quiet one in the circle, but she just knows how to get it done. And also a Haley Lee and a Sydney Sanders jumping into that lineup with, like you said, Tiare Jennings, the number one player in Division I softball.
Absolutely. This team is just loaded year after year, but let's go through the rest of D1 Softball's top five. We've got some contenders in there. What do you see in each of those teams?
So in the number 2 spot, we've got the UCLA Bruins. Megan Framo is back in the circle for UCLA, and she just had an incredible fall and off season and hyper focus, laser-like focus. And then you add a Brooke Yanez, a transfer from Oregon. She did sit out last year with an injury, but she's not the only transfer the Bruins have. They've got Charlize Palacios and Janelle Miono from Arizona to UCLA transfers. I don't know if I've ever heard of that. And also you've got Rachel Sid too, but keep an eye on Maya Brady. I think she's got something to prove this year, and she is arguably one of the tough hitters in the country. So keep an eye on Maya Brady for the Bruins.
And then moving on, number 3, you've got Oklahoma State, FSU, and Florida. What about those three?
Oklahoma State, the Cowgirls, Kenny Gajewski argues they've got the best pitching staff in the country. And that is something, I might have to agree with him. You got Kelly Maxwell coming back. You've got her, the southpaw on the left side. And then you add Alexi Kilfoyle, another two-way player, very much so like Miranda Ellish. But again, we like the Cowgirls and what Kenny Gajewski is doing there. And he always seems to get those transfers to work together with those Cowgirls that have been there since he's been there. But again, transfer you over Oklahoma State. And then we head to Florida State at number 4. It was tough for the Seminoles last year. They couldn't get out of that regional in Tallahassee. But the one thing you can count on with Lonnie Alameda and the Seminoles is they've got an incredible culture there. And I think they're going to be ready to go heading into this 2023 season with Catherine Sandercock, Michaela Edenfield, Kaylee Harding. The list just goes on and on and on.
And then lastly, Florida, the last one in, got the edge over Alabama in the SEC.
Yeah, it was close. And I think you look at Florida and you look at Tim Walton and what he's done over time there with the Gators. You got Skylar Wallace back at Kendra Falby, just incredible speed on the bases. Then you got Hightower, Delbury, and Trilicek for them in the circle. Again, those Gators, they're ready to play come postseason and edge out Alabama and Montana Fouts just for that number 5 spot.
So I was looking at the top 25. What were some of the hardest decisions when you were making it? It didn't seem easy at all, obviously.
We kind of sat down and we've got a new voter this year in Gray Robertson. He's kind of joining our D1 softball staff, and the 5 of us, Graham Hayes and Brady Vernon and Rhiannon Potke, myself and Gray, it was tough. And I think looking at an Oregon State's no longer in our top 25, and they were just in the Women's College World Series just a season ago. I think it's a question mark there. We're going to see how they do without a Mariah Mazon in the circle, not only in the circle, but at the plate, an incredible two-way player. And then again, a Mississippi State, kind of same thing. They made that super regional run, eventually lost to Arizona. But looking at those two, but we have some new ones that enter the list. And I think that's what we're most excited about to see moving forward into season.
All right, Tara, what is one of your main storylines heading into the season? We love those question marks. So what's your biggest question mark here?
I think it's, it happens every year, but for some reason last season you saw these incredible pitchers graduate. You see a Keely Rochard from Virginia Tech. You see a Miranda Ellish. She left Oklahoma State. You've got these big time pitchers and names, Peyton St. George. The list kind of just goes on, and how those players are going to step up. Obviously, look at a Hope Trotwine for Oklahoma as well. How the players and these pitchers step up heading into season is going to be something I'm looking at.
That perfectly leads me into my next one. Who are some of the top pitchers to watch in the circle this year?
Well, I think Megan Framo, you've got to look at Megan Framo and a Jordy Ball, a healthy Jordy Ball. But Catherine Sandercock, gosh, a Danielle Williams at Northwestern, she's back for them again. Shanice Dels, Jayla Wright at Duke. The list goes on. And I'm also excited to see who kind of steps in at Texas I almost forgot Haley Dolcini graduating out of Texas, and how Sophia Simpson and Estelle Check move in there. But yeah, I think there's plenty of arms across the country, and can't wait to get this thing going.
Absolutely. And how about players in general, the top ones to watch this year? Obviously, Tiare Jennings highlighted your list of top players returning.
Yeah, so we're looking at the D100, Tiare Jennings at number one. You look at a Cindy Sanders heading over to Oklahoma. She was previously at ASU. Obviously, Montana Fouts. Kiki Malloy, still one of my favorite players. She can just do it all. Hannah Gamble at Arkansas. And then Jada Cody at a UCF. And so keep an eye on those. And don't forget about Valerie Cagle, two-way player for Clemson. Valerie Cagle is always a fun one to watch.
Absolutely. All right, so let's take a look at some under-the-radar teams. You've got a lot in your top 25 that we don't typically always see. Who are they, and why can they make a run this year?
I mentioned UCF. I don't know if they're quite under the radar because of that incredible run they had last season. Right. But what I love about Cindy Ball Malone is she puts together a schedule that challenges her players and gets them ready and prepared for the postseason, and arguably allowed them and put them in a position to host regionals. So take a look at a UCF. And Jen Salling now joins the staff, former Olympian, Canadian Olympian. So keep an eye on there with Sarah Willis. And, like I said, that tough schedule, I think, will prepare them. Another team to keep an eye on, North Texas, Mean Green. Rodney DeLong was on our podcast just a couple weeks ago, and they return a ton of talent, again, with Savage and Peters in the circle, and just a team that had an incredible regional last year at the Stillwater Regional and put up a fight against Oklahoma State. So keep an eye on North Texas heading into season in Conference USA.
Lastly, Tara, on the flip side, how about some teams you think are well-primed, ready to make the Women's College World Series in 23?
I want to take a look at Tennessee. I think the addition of Peyton Gottschall and the circle for them, like I said, a healthy Ashley Rogers. I think they've got a good shot at it. Georgia, they had 3 players in our D100 top 10. And I think Tony Baldwin realized, he said in our fall report, how much his energy impacted that squad. So I think him getting into that head coaching role and leading that team with a couple important transfers in Jacobson, Miklish, and Davenport. So I keep an eye on Georgia and Tennessee, some 2 SEC teams. And then Louisiana, you can't count out the Raging Cajuns. Again, another team that's scheduled tough this season. So they'll be tested early to see if they can potentially make it to the Women's College World Series.
All right, well, some exciting stuff. Seems like a great year ahead of us, Tara. Thanks so much for joining me and previewing the 2023 season.
Thanks so much for having me, Michella. Can't wait to get this going in the 2023 season, and see you soon.